All right. Translations are started. Go ahead and choose your language if you so dare. We'll wait about one more minute and then we're going to go ahead and get this party started because I don't know how, but I'm ripping and roaring today and I am feeling good. Hey, Milka, I see. Hey, Sandy, I see you guys on my first page. Look at this. Let's go. Looks like we're going to have some newbies here. Hey, Marcus. I see Misha. Misha, you're always walking somewhere. You're always outside getting vitamin D. What's going on? I love that. So, wait a couple minutes, let everyone get started. I know there was a little bit of confusion, and I apologize that Duquesne put in the weekend report a different topic than what was in the newsletter. And so I apologize. I will do my best. So I think what we're going to do is talk what was in the newsletter today about really social media and you. We're going to talk a little bit about group building and I've worked with a lot of you over the last 2 weeks that we've been on the road, and I know Dr. Ram has come in contact with a lot of you. And so what to do now? I just met people. I just went to an event. I had a party and I introduced people to Root. What do I do now? So there's a lot of aspects about like, training on social media, building a group, and then really what to do. So we're going to go through all that in a little bit. And I'm going to say this because I say this every week. I love these calls to be interactive. So don't be shy. I see Dominique. Hi, Dominique. I know that we thank you for calling me out on the Platinum channel about making a mistake about the wrong title. We'll get that. We'll get that next week. So the back office training will be next week about how to use the back office. I might introduce some of the back office tools, tips and tricks on this call, but most of what we're going to go through is really just like social media, building a group, what to really do. Let me make sure. I think I got Dylan on the call here with me. Let me
Yep. I'm here.
Hey Dylan, let me make you a co-host. You're here. What's going on, buddy?
The wave of tire of the travel hit as soon as I got home.
Oh,
So
come on. So Dylan's home because he lives close to the airport. But guess where I am?
The office, baby.
We're in the office. Let's go. And this is my second cup of Ram roast because I haven't had good coffee in 2 weeks. Actually, well, we did have good coffee at Mind Body Spirit, but guys, I'm a coffee snob. I have a special kind of way of where I make my coffee. So, um, okay, couple things. So, we just finished off a month. So, one huge congrats to everyone. I know that last week in the weekend report in the newsletter, we added the top 10 country list. I wanted to go through that really quickly and just kind of recognize obviously the top 5 of countries that really did a phenomenal job last month. And then we're going to go ahead and into this. So huge shout out Germany, obviously #1 country in the world. That was incredible. US #2, always #2. It's like a World War II thing, us in Germany. Switzerland #3, Austria #4, and then the United Kingdom #5. I know why the UK got #5 last month. I have 3 words: mind, body, spirit. So quick little recap of the Mind, Body, Spirit event. I know that we really haven't given a proper recap. First of all, thank you to everyone that worked the booth with us. I see Sandy, Misha, Nikki, Hazel, Marina, Sam, Rachel, I think I met Andy Gorman. Huge shout out to all the ambassadors. I said Marina.
You did? Oh, yeah.
Huge shout out to all the ambassadors that came here. Ted's in here. He's making sure that I'm not making any mistakes. Huge shout out to all the ambassadors that helped us out at the Mind Body Spirit event. We had a record sales for that weekend. It was a phenomenal event. The booth, if you haven't seen, look on social media. The booth was absolutely spectacular. Our graphics and marketing team did a phenomenal job building that and putting those assets together. And we did some different things. So Marina actually got a coffee pot and we were making coffee, serving coffee for the entire weekend. People were blown away by how great the coffee was. We also brought Mercy Dupree. Mercy Dupree actually was a really huge topic of conversation. A lot of people were interested and purchased clothes. The baby blankets were a huge topic. And then the leggings were, and Dylan and I kicked ourselves for not bringing the leggings with us. So, learned our lesson from that. But again, the UK has really been a pivotal country for us, and we really want to do. No, this is we got this at Mind Body Spirit. So this is pure amber that many of you guys maybe saw the necklace that Dr. Ram and Clay took pictures of, which is pretty awesome. Don't lose that.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
They will come for me. So just an overall great event. We had our Dr. Ram talk on Sunday afternoon, which was really good. Hey, Nikki, I see you on my first page. It's good to see you. And then we had the Root event, which I was expecting maybe 30 people. We had like 55 plus 50 people at the event on Sunday night, which was absolutely phenomenal to get to mingle, meet some new ambassadors, some new customers, meet some old ambassadors that were really just in the community for a very long time. And so it was good to get to know everybody, really kind of talk about, this whole mentality of what we've been training on lately is just to get back to basics and really kind of getting back to, the core ethos of what Root is about. So from everyone, the bottom of mine and Dylan's hearts, thank you so much for all the hard work and the help that you put in to the Mind Body Spirit event. And then huge shout out to everyone that came by Dallas for the biohacking event. That was another really great event. I know Milka was there. I know the Detox Girls had an intern that came by. Stephanie was there. I saw Dr. Alina Lesinich. She was there. What a great event. Different than Mind, Body, Spirit, but a phenomenal event of really great contacts, more so on the B2B side. So business to business, talking to people that have wellness centers, talking with other companies that are in the space. It was just it's our community, it's our tribe, and it's a really easy talk track of what it is that we're doing and understanding the difference of the modalities that are being offered at an event like that, and how really Root is the key to unlock all of those aspects of biohacking and the modalities that they're offering there, whether it's red light therapy, cold plunging, stem cells, you name it, they had it. They had sunscreen, they had everything that you can think of that would be in a biohacker's arsenal of what their stack, quote unquote, is. So huge shout out to everyone that came by the booth. We had another record weekend of sales. Dr. Ram and Clay, I know that we went live a couple times for their talk. So hopefully you guys were able to check that out on her social media Instagram page. Huge turnout for Dr. Ram and Clayton's talk at the biohacking event. And then a huge day of sales on that last day. It was a phenomenal event. And, we love seeing all those companies and businesses and all the individuals that are a part of that community that are now recognizing us in the space because we've been showing up each year. And then after that, Dylan obviously ran point on this, but I know that we've been talking about the esports and the gaming event. And that was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And because of the Dave Asprey biohacking event, we ended up going to that on Sunday, which was the championship final. And I was absolutely blown away by this event. One, the exposure. Two, it's a whole other world. So for those of you who may be tuned in to Dr. Ram's live, we've tried to post a lot of pictures from there. I know that Clay was live for a little bit of it when we walked into this stadium, and it was literally bigger than an NBA like basketball game with how many people were there and screaming and chanting and going nuts for this finals game. But it was a huge entryway of, you were seeing, Monster Energy had a gigantic like $150,000 booth and like a setup and a footprint, and they're handing out free energy drinks all weekend long. and you really recognize that there are so many untapped markets for Root. There's so many untapped avenues in which you can go. And that's really where my aha moment was, is looking at, I mean, I think for most of you who, if you watch Dr. Ram's live, we were filming this area while we're walking through this Dream Hack in Dallas. Dream Hack is the name of the event. And they have an area where it's a 24/7, all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where people bring their video game consoles and they game all day, all night. And all they do is leave to go to the bathroom.
Actually, they have separate bathrooms. They
Yeah, they have their own private bathrooms for like that. And they, I think it, what they say, Dylan, $900 for a ticket for the weekend, or $600.
those tickets between how many days you bought were ranged between $600 to $1,200 of what they wanted, and they would literally bring in their own consoles and setups and camp out in this gated area for 24 hours at a time and have open LAN parties for gaming.
And so when you're looking at that, it's like, oh my God, we should have a cup full of zero-in pills at every table of people just taking that. But just so many different avenues, so many different entry points of aspects of how we can fit into so many different worlds. I was talking with Ted earlier today about some of the B2B conversations that we were having with individuals at the biohacking convention. And when you really think about it, is, you know, everyone on this call has taken zero in. Everyone on this call understands what zero in can do. And some of the conversations we're starting to really have now is a corporate benefit program, right? So when corporations have benefit programs like a wellness, you know, they're obviously buying insurance policies or medical or insurance or dental. So when you look at aspects of optimizing your employees' health and making sure that, one, they're healthy, one, their productivity is great, and two, they are working harder and working longer, you're talking about taking a business and taking maybe 3 of their lowest performers and saying, let's get them on the Trinity pack and let's do a month test and see what they will do or how they will perform or how their performance will help the overall health and wellness of the company. And when you're thinking about what businesses are paying in premiums for insurance policies on their employees, that's a whole other avenue in which we can have, and where you're trying to have that conversation of how can I inject Root into these conversations. And my mentality is I can not inject Root into these conversations. It's just so easy for me. And it's like every person that I'm having a conversation with is giving this entryway, is giving this avenue of, how about you give me 4 of your top performers or 4 of your bottom performers, and let's do a month test. I'll get him the Trinity pack, or I'll just get him zero in, and I want him to take it for a month, and then I want you to report back to me. Any business owner is going to take that all day long, because if you talk about hitting their bottom line and helping the business and helping optimize their performance, productivity, that's a home run hit. So, Dylan and I flew back this morning, and so I'm trying to recap our last 2 weeks, and so we're excited to get back to it. There's a lot of work to be done, but I'm going to bring it back to what the call is about today. And so a lot of you have seen via social media. I've also had a lot of conversations with a lot of you doing your own events or doing a farmer's market type event. And so I wanted to talk through some tips and tricks and things that we really do when we come home from an event, when we come home from an interaction with a group of people, when we introduce Root to individuals, and where we're going and what we're going to do as a follow-up. So please raise your hand. Dylan, I don't know if you're keeping an eye on the chat, but I'd love for you to ask me questions while we're diving into this. I know I just threw up a lot at you about the last 2 weeks and everything that was going on, but please chime in if you have questions.
Do that. Why don't you get Misha or one of the people that was in My Body Spirit and ask them to tell you what they learned or what they found that was new?
I love that. Yeah.
Because I think
Nikki, are you able to talk? Because Misha's outside walking around. Nikki, are
Yeah,
you
sure.
Do you want to give your recap of the Mind Body Spirit of like some things that you experienced at the show and then post show, because I know that you talked to a lot of people
What was
that
unveiled?
weekend.
What was unveiled?
Yeah, okay, so you had a mixture of people. There were some practitioners, there were some just normal people who are completely new to heavy metal detoxing and things like that. So some conversations you're just literally starting at the beginning of the journey. You know about toxicity, is environmental toxins are a problem, blah blah blah. And then drawing them into the fact that Clean Slate is the foundational product, and then gently trying to upsell them into the Trinity and other products. It's quite difficult sometimes because you've got a limited amount of time and you don't want to bamboozle them with too many products. So Found Clean Slate is an easy sell anyway. I was quickly taking phone numbers from people because it can get a bit chaotic. So I had my mobile phone handy. I've learned in the past, people take my number, but it's so much better to take theirs because you're guaranteed to get contact that way.
Absolutely.
If you give them yours, it's just you're just risking never getting contact with that person again.
So Nikki, let me ask you a quick question. So you've been with us for a minute and you've been a part of Root. What was unveiled to you that maybe was different, or what was something that you were like, huh, I never thought of that?
Yeah, lost connection there.
Can you
Am
hear
I
me?
back? Yeah. So as in, what did I learn at that show from what was going on there and your guys conversations?
Yeah. So what was what was something that might have been unveiled to you that you didn't really recognize with your experience and tenure here at Root for as long as you've been a part of the community?
I don't know. I mean, your upselling, I think, just goes to another level. I
Yeah.
see people coming away from you with like a couple of carrier bags full of stuff. It's like, I need to get there. I aspire to do that without, but us Brits, we try and be a bit more discreet. We don't want to come across too salesy.
Mhm.
And that hurts our bottom line sometimes. You want to
Yeah.
help people, but we are a little bit delicate, a bit more delicate than you guys might be. That's a good thing and a bad thing.
I'll tell you, and I'll get into, I saw a QR code that somebody just put in. I'll get into a little bit, is that 9 times out of 10, if because Dylan and I, when we're at these events, especially like the Mind Body Spirit, we're typically the ones checking people out. And because we're helping people so quickly, they'll come to me and they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna check out, I'm getting 0 in and Clean Slate, which is a value pack, right? Which is great, $148. We'll go ahead and check them out. I always lean on education. Education is one of our 4 pillars. And so I always say with a preface of, hey, I'm not trying to upsell you. I just want to educate you. But this is our most foundational product, the Trinity pack. I understand that you only want to get the value pack. I don't mind. You can buy whatever it is that you want to buy. I want you to feel comfortable, but I want you to know walking into this that you can add a box to restore on this for X amount more. And this is what it's going to do. This is how it's going to help you. 9 times out of 10, the people were upgrading to something. Same thing with Trinity Pack. Hey, did you know that this is about a month, but if you want more restore, you should get the Trinity Pack Plus. Every single time that person was always going, yeah, let me get that. Or, Dylan, absolutely a cannonball of just experience talking about crush, sculpt. And 9 times out of 10, if somebody was asking me about crush, I'm like, Dylan, step in, because he is such an expert at talking about all those particular ingredients. Everybody that Dylan talked to about crush, they bought it. And the reason why is that he's able to educate them on that this is the only product in the market that has all those particular ingredients, the way in which each one of those ingredients are going to counteract with one another to support the body. He has a way in explaining it, and not to mention he's gigantic and works out, and everyone's like, well, if it's working for you, it's definitely going to work for me. And so you have to realize and understand when you're at these types of events that stick to your wheelhouse, but don't be afraid to lean back on education as one of our 4 pillars to help introduce somebody to something new. Dylan has a really good understanding of like, if you see somebody that maybe looks like he used the word hippie, right? Like, I don't want to use that, but maybe they have long hair. Maybe you might not want to talk to them about give me back my youth because they might be vegan or vegetarian. And so they're not interested in that product. Really reading the conversation. We've had a lot of these conversations with individuals and especially ambassadors is that if you were to go to Dylan, if you were to go to me, if you're going to go to Ted, if you're going to go to Duquesne, you're going to get a different pitch of what we do and how we interact or what products we're going to focus on. And that's what's really great is that you shouldn't be looking at what does Patrick do? What does Duquesne do? What does Dylan do? What am I going to do? And maybe I'll take a couple pieces of what they say. And when we're on these calls, when we're trying to help educate you and teach you about how to introduce somebody, what is your like elevator pitch into the root brands, you have to do what works for you. But don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and say, hey, I just want to let you know, by the way, they have a pet line. I saw that you have a dog. You know, how's your dog doing? Is your dog's health? What are you feeding your dog? And not trying to scare the person or utilize like a temperament of where you're just trying to earn all this money and get that 15% and you just want to maximize. It's more about educating somebody about making the best decision for themselves. And that's what really separates us apart. Yes, Dylan.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, the education piece of that, the more you go into the education of the products and how they can help them, it builds trust with you and the customer. And the more trust you can build, the better they're actually going to say, this is a good brand and this is a good product. I'm going to trust what they are saying. And that can lead into more conversations of, oh, you trust what I say here. Well, let me tell you about this other product that can work just as well and work in another sense too. And we're always super honest with people. If we think they don't need a product, we'll say, hey, you know what? Let me steer you here. If we think that, you know what, this is actually the better one, let me put this $129 sculpt down and let me give you Crush instead. We don't try to make a sale. We try to make sure that they trust our brand and our company first.
That's a great point, Dylan, and I'll get to you, Milka, in a second. Is that like natural barrier support? If somebody grabs that, I'm honest with them. I'm like, hey, I have the same bottle of natural barrier support, and it's been in my cupboard for about 2 years, a year and a half. I use it when I feel like I might be coming down with a cold. That's it. Now, Dr. Ram obviously would say, you know, you should be upping your vitamin C and, you know, the ingredients with zinc that's in there. But if somebody's going, hey, I want to get the Trinity pack and natural barrier support and they're teetering, I would probably be like, hey, don't get natural barrier support. Let's get you something else that's going to align a little bit more with what you're looking to get. Don't be afraid to help educate that individual because it's not about maximizing your dollar of sale or your pound or euro, whatever, wherever you are in the world. It's about helping guide the individual to what they're going to need so that they're going to come back to you when they run out and they're like, hey, that was actually phenomenal. I feel so great. Okay, what did you experience while you were taking the products? Are you open to learning more? Because I do know that these products do cost a lot. Let's talk a little bit about how maybe we can maximize. Or did you know that there's an RPS program, subscribe and save, that you can sign up and get free shipping? And after your 4th month, on the 5th month, you get a $50 or $100 coupon. By the way, they just gave away a trip for $17,000 to Italy to drive a Ferrari to somebody that was just an average customer. This quarter, they're giving away $5,000. These are conversations that you can have when somebody seems like they're like, that's kind of pricey. Well, we get it. Our products don't go on sale. We source the highest quality ingredients. And you got to find a way in which when somebody says, I want to go find out more information. You know what? You're 100% right. I think you should go find out some more information. Here's my contact. Scan this QR code. Give me a call. I'll follow up a call with you and we can talk about it because maybe I didn't give you all the information you were looking for. I think you should do your due diligence. But please, if you do have any questions, whether it's about our brand or maybe somebody else's brand, please reach out to me because I've been in this space for X years and I really want to help you understand what's going to be great for you and your family. It's a really, really good entry point where you're just like, you know what? I didn't give you a lot of information. When can we set up another call? A lot of people don't like to be sold to, but a lot of people like to buy the highest premium quality products. They like to buy something that has phenomenal ingredients. And everyone that's on this call knows what the Trinity pack can do. And so don't be so anxious to try and shove it down somebody's throat right away. Milka, go ahead and ask your question, and then we'll get into a little bit about QR codes and building a list.
Okay, thank you. So one thing I did notice is that when I gave people I have a lot of people's numbers, but also there was a lot of times when I gave them my number. So it was the woman that was speaking before was like, yeah, I probably should have just taken everyone's number instead of them just having my number. I'm like, will they call? I don't know. Did it because it's less pressure for them, not feeling like, yeah, like if you want more information, but now it's like the chances are go down much less. But so
Yeah.
it's that balance between not making them feel like pressure to have me reach out to them, but still not lose an opportunity. So I see like both sides to that. Another point that I realized, like reflecting after the event, was, you know, how we would say to people, here's a 0 in, and then come back in 20 minutes, tell us how you feel, and then continue the conversation. I realized that most of the time, push people away, they actually didn't come back. And I thought it was such a good idea to tell people, like talked a little bit about it and not really try to keep them in the conversation initially. Just here, take this, come back, let me know how you feel. They didn't come back, even if they did feel good. It just, we lost them after that time. So like reflecting back, maybe give it to them initially and say, you know, and then continue the conversation. And after they, let's say, purchase or the relationship is really built, yeah, and now come back later after, but don't push them away before they're really educated. So that's another thing that I learned. And the last thing is, how many days after the event is it appropriate to reach out? Is it like today or tomorrow, Wednesday? What's a good time?
So let's dive into a little bit of that. And thank you very much for sharing,
Yeah.
Milk. You know, I think everyone here has probably, you know, like Nikki, Sandy, I see Misha, there's a couple of people that have ran their own events, I think might have differences, right? Like there's certain aspects where I've told people, yeah, take this and then come back. And, you know, they come back and they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I'm going to buy 2 boxes. You know, it's always interesting to hear that some people might have a different experience, that the person never came back, or maybe they did come back and you just didn't see them come back. There's different avenues in which you have to leave it up to the individual to make the choice, because you don't want to force somebody into something. And so that's why I want to give a shout out to Misha, and this is going to lead me into my next topic. And I know we talked about this last week, but Misha was an absolute boss. And this was her first event. Not only did Misha show up each day, basically wearing a Mercy Dupree outfit, a Root outfit, logoed stuff, but she showed up with sample coffee, sample 0 in packs, which rivaled with our sample 0 in packs. So we got to talk about that, Misha. I'm mad at you. She was giving away samples, and it had her business card with a QR code on it. It had all her information, and she was just walking around at the Mind Body Spirit event in London, handing cards out to individuals for testing or trying out the information. And she was grinding. And it was such a breath of fresh air to see her come to an event, take some of the tips and tricks that we've talked about on some of these ambassador calls and utilize them and watch them work. I mean, Misha, I don't know if you want to share at all about that experience, but you were on fire, and I loved every second of it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it was, I'm extremely organized by nature. So if I came unprepared, it wouldn't be me.
I love that. So I want to lead this in because I know that you were using QR codes. I'm going to talk a little bit about some other aspects to use QR codes, but I want you to touch a little bit on, have you had any follow-up conversations? Because it's been 2 weeks. It's been a week. It's been a week since Mind Body Spirit. I don't know where I am right now in the world, even though I'm in Nashville. Have you followed up with anybody? Because I know that you signed up a lot of customers and you made a lot of contacts, even if they didn't purchase anything, you gave them a sample. Talk a little bit about that. And did you formulate a plan to how you're going to follow up? And maybe create a group of new customers.
So I have made the mistake of not taking their contact details, but just giving mine, I
Yep.
think. So I've learned from them for next time. I have had a couple people contacting me asking how to take the clean spirits because they're trying to give up something. They're trying to get rid of addictions. And I've also had a couple of people contacting me, inviting me to their events to represent Root.
Get out. Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah, that
love
was really good. One of them was for menopause, for ladies with menopause, which is in September in London. And the other one, I've actually had contact from, is it Nick that you spoke to? Is he from New Zealand or America? The guy with the
Oh,
hat.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
actually had him contacting me as well. Yeah, so that was really cool because I think they're lovely people.
I love that. Yeah, they were great. So I'm gonna tie this in. So QR codes are great. I know a lot of you might have seen or have seen. So I have a QR code. You can see it right here. It says Root. It's got my QR code on it. It's my business card and it's a digital card. And I'm gonna introduce everyone to a couple different methods in which how they can build a list and they can utilize that list post a show. So how many here, maybe just on my first page, raise your hand if you understand what a type form is or a Google form or a Google type form. Go ahead, you can raise your hand if you want, show me. Perfect, I see Sandy. I don't see a whole lot of hands there. Sabina, I got you. Everyone's like, okay. So a type form is a form where you're collecting data. It could be, and you can create this and customize this as much as you want. I've talked about this in the past. I used to have a type form for my consulting agency, my consulting business, for me to acquire new customers or new businesses that would want to hire me as a consultant. And I would ask them specific questions about sales, how many employees did they have, how long have they been in business, what kind of products do they sell, and why are they reaching out? And that would coincide with a Calendly link for them to book 45 minutes time with me for an onboarding to see if they were a good fit. Because as much as they wanted to interview me, it was more about me interviewing them because I wasn't for everybody. And I was looking for somebody that I wanted to work with that was a certain amount of sales per month and had a certain amount of revenue. Maybe the CEO or the COO was stuck. And so I really treated myself as like an outsourced COO for a lot of these businesses so that maybe they had 5 different departments. They really didn't have like a VP or a director, but they could onboard somebody, pay them $10,000-$20,000 a month, and they can help them orchestrate each one of those departments. And that's really the role that I found. This is many, many years ago. But what I did was my business card was attached to a QR code, which would take them to the type form. They would fill out their information and then they would book on Calendly, which would be synced to my Google Calendar and my Zoom link, and it would create a call so that we would have a follow-up. And this is such a phenomenal way, and it could be as simple as a type form as your name, are you interested in health and wellness, and your email and phone number. And that's it. And you can sync your systems up to book you appointments on certain times and days throughout the week to have a follow-up call if you do an event like this. Or if you meet somebody at the coffee shop and you just happen to talk to them about what you do for a living. And you're like, yeah, here, scan this, book some time with me. I'd love to catch up. I don't have time today, but I'd love to book a call with you next week. 1, that creates emphasis on you're a freaking busy person. 2, that lets them know that you are ready to talk to them at their leisure, but you need to get some information from them first. And 3, it sets up something that you can do in the future, and it organizes your schedule to have a calendar in which you're going to structure your week. So this is a really good way that you can do it at an event. You can do it at a house party that you're going to. I crush it at Christmas parties with Zero In because I hand them out like chiclets and everyone's high on Zero In with that. It's great. There's certain aspects in which you got to utilize for what works with you. And this is a way in which you can build and structure your business to be automated so that you're not writing down a phone number on a list, or you're not handing them a notepad and saying, hey, give me your information right here. It's digital. Everybody now in the world is digital. And so we have to get with the times. By the way, you also don't need to pay for this. Calendly is free. Zoom you can use for free, and Typeform is free. Those are all 3 things that I just gave you that you can infuse in your business, that you can use for free, that you can help create some better structure so that you can do some follow-up. So let's talk a little bit about following up after a call. And please, if you do have a question, raise your hand, because otherwise I'm just talking into a camera here and I am listening to myself talk, and hopefully you guys are taking some good notes. So please raise your hand if you have a question about anything that I've been discussing. I think Dylan's taking a look at the chat bot. So if I don't catch your question or Dylan doesn't, please speak up. Many of you are first now getting started, and some of you have been involved. I see Sandy on here, who's I know has been a part of Root for a very long time. I see Dominique, who has been with Root for a very long time and has a really good, strong community. I can bet that if you do have a strong community and if you've been with us for some time, you probably are running a group, whether that's on Telegram, whether that's on WhatsApp, or whether that's just a Facebook group. And so I want to talk about a couple of these aspects, because these are ways, for one, that not only can you stay in direct contact with your group, you can create as many of them as you want, and you can really treat them as new customer group. Hey guys, this is a group for all people that are brand new to Root. You are here. We're going to create a pod so that we can, one, help educate you. We can talk about our experiences with the products. You are with people that are also getting started on the products so that you can talk through different ways in which, hey, how are you taking clean spirits? I just started it and I'm only taking it at night. My dreams are crazy. Whatever. I'm just giving you guys some examples. But you guys should have stages of groups for people that you are just now introducing. And maybe you're getting that Typeform information that we were just talking about with a QR code, and you're putting somebody into a group that is going to be aligned with other individuals that are brand new. And then maybe they've been on Root for a couple months and you're moving them to another group. Maybe they want to become an ambassador and you have an ambassador group where you're teaching them about the ambassador program and the comp plan and how they can build and how they can gain sales by sharing, doing what they're probably already doing, because if they're on the Root products, they're going to see differences. They're going to love the products. Let's just call a spade a spade. They're going to want to talk about it, because when you love something, you share and you tell people about it. So there's ways in which you can build these WhatsApp groups or Telegram channels, or even better, a Facebook group, because when you do it on Facebook, you're also getting aligned with that person's friends on Facebook, and you're able to utilize them and you're able to communicate with them in this group. You can post stories, articles that may be aligned about health and wellness or the nutraceutical industry or serotonin and dopamine or the new product Sculpt. You can show them where the patent was just approved for clean spirits back in February. Having these groups and curating these small little pods are going to help, because there's going to be camaraderie amongst the people that are in the group. They're going to want to stick together. I mean, look at this call. We've been on this call for 41 minutes and only one person has raised their hand. I guarantee you, if you have a question right now that you want to ask, somebody else is probably thinking about it. And so people get nervous around these groups. People get nervous when they're in a large amount of people. And, you know, we're obviously streaming this and we have 9 different languages being translated. So when you curate these small little groups, these small little pods, you can help infuse that conversation of people wanting to learn more. So you have the ability to kind of, and when you create a WhatsApp group, anyone can create it. And then you get the ability to add people to the group. So let's just say you meet somebody at a coffee shop or at a bar or at a party or, you know, at an event. You can say, hey, I got a group where a lot of people that are just being introduced to this company are there to share what they're going through. which is a whole nother segue because I'm going to say, do you know how many people that I met these last 2 weeks that have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease? 5. 5 people diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. They have no idea about root. They have no idea about a protocol that we have that can help. And I'm not here to make any claims, but I'm letting you know that I've come in contact and I just traveled to 2 countries and a lot of different cities in the last 2 weeks. And I met 5 people that were diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease and were looking for something because they were so sick and were tired of not getting to the root of what was wrong with them. No pun intended. That's bananas to me. I could create a group for Hashimoto's and literally just start talking to them about the Trinity Pack.
Hey, just
I saw
just
you
to let
raise
everyone
your hand.
know what that is. Hashimoto's is a thyroid condition. That means you can't produce selenium properly, which is a hormone imbalance. That is caused by heavy metals such as lead and mercury.
Thank you, Dylan. So again, just think of like I'm trying to break this down to you just off of my last 2 weeks and my experience with root, all the different ways in which I can take what I've just gathered at certain shows, build groups, build pods that can help guide individuals, that can help make them feel comfortable about sharing. And 9 times out of 10, if somebody was like, hey, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, you know what I did? Hey, Dr. Ram, can you talk to this person? And then it turned into crying and tears, and then they're buying $800 worth of product. So there's a means in which everybody on this call, all 146 of you, can take some of these tips, pull out pieces that are going to work for you, and introduce it into what you're currently doing to create better structure, to help you continue and growing your business, but also making people feel comfortable and confident enough to, one, tell you their story, because everyone deserves that opportunity to tell their story and share what they've been through, and for somebody to listen, and then to slowly guide them into means in which that could maybe help them. And I heard a lot over these past 2 weeks. It's like, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's like a sick person only has one goal in mind, and that's to get better. That's it. And so when you're coming in contact with individuals that look great and look phenomenal, and they're telling you that they're going through some challenges in life, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's health, you want to just throw up on them. You want to just shake them and say, we have these awesome products. I can't believe it. You got to try it. You have to have this structure and these systems put together so that you can introduce them very, very slow, like a drip, and not waterboard them with everything. Because if you just send them to our YouTube page, if you're just sending them to our homepage, it is a quote unquote waterboarding of just understanding that there's just so much knowledge there. You have to hold their hand. The other last thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll wrap up this week's call and we'll see if we have any questions, is that a lot of you on here are also still new. And there's a lot of you that are on here that have been with us for a really long time, and maybe you're stuck, and maybe you're not finding your groove, or maybe somebody is going to try somebody else's products. And I've really talked about this, and I've really kind of drawn my line in the sand about everybody on this call should try and create their own pod or group, whether you're Sandy, who has a lot of customers, or whether you're a Misha who is just getting started. I think, and I know you're just not getting started, Misha, I was using that as an example. I think that it would behoove you to reach out to some individuals that are on this call, like a Nikki Shepard, like a Dominique, like a Sandy, like a Misha, and say, hey, would you mind meeting once a week? Let's get a group of 5 to 10 ambassadors. Let's have a weekly check-in. What's working for you? What's not working for you? Can you tell me a little bit about the Mind, Body, Spirit event? Can you tell me about your time with Patrick and Dylan and Ted and Clayton and Dr. Ram? can you tell me about the time in which you were successful? I tell this story a lot because it worked really, really well. But Mr. Beast, who has got the largest following on YouTube and is absolutely killing it, he had to start with 0 followers. And you know what got him to be the most followed person on YouTube, the most subscribed channel on YouTube? He had a pod of 8 different other YouTubers, excuse me. And every week they would have a call and they would talk about the time in which they posted a video, the intro, the thumbnail, and how long their video was, what they talked about, what topics worked, what topics didn't work, and then the comments and the feedback that they got from their communities. And what that did for them and those 8 YouTubers who all have like millions and millions of subscribers now because they grew each one of their channels is that if somebody made a mistake, they learned from it and they didn't make that mistake in the future. If somebody did something that worked, they were able to adopt that for their channel, make it theirs, and use it. And they also found community. They weren't alone. And that is the biggest thing that you need to take away from this call is that finding your tribe and your community that's going to support you no matter what, that's going to be able to talk to you when you're having a shitty day and when you're feeling like you're banging your head up against the wall because nobody wants to hear you talk about clean slate. It gives you that ability to talk to somebody and make you think about something and have a light bulb go off that might change your perspective on what you're doing. And that is worth its weight in gold. And I have said this for those of you that are on this call, you can private message somebody that's on this call. Most of you are in contact. You can reach out. I highly recommend getting together and setting up weekly calls or bi-weekly or every 2 weeks, bi-monthly calls where ambassadors are checking in with other ambassadors and finding out what's working and what's not. Because these calls are great. And we're trying to create some back to basic structure around these calls. And some of you are going to have these calls be super valuable. And some of you are going to be like, I don't need to learn how to use the back office documents. I don't care about that call. I'm trying to throw up on you guys to give you so many different means and versions and opportunities that you can take away and make it your own so that you can exercise what is going to work for you and take it and run with it. Because if something's working for Sandy or something's working for Milka or Nikki, I'm just looking at my first page here, I can guarantee that 100 other people that are on this call are going to benefit from it. Whether you're brand new or whether you've been with us since February 2nd, 2020. And that's where the difference comes in, is that you're not alone here and that we're all a part of this community. But there should be these little separate silos. And when we're supporting one another, rising tides raise all ships. So before we end this call today, I know we're at 50 minutes and I appreciate everyone sharing and hopefully I wasn't too much. I'm a little tired from Dylan and I's 5 a.m. flight today. I want to figure out if anyone has any questions. Check in really quick. And if not, we can go ahead and close this call because I love interactions, even though you guys just heard me for the last 50 minutes talk to you and nobody asked any questions. So raise your hand if you have a question. If not, we will close this call and hopefully you guys figured out some tips and tricks. Dylan, go ahead. Somebody got a question in chat?
Yeah, so actually, Milka, I answered this for you in the chat, but it was a really good question. So thank you for this one. She said, when do I know to follow up with someone I met at an event?
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
I forgot
gonna,
to hit this. Go.
yeah, that's
Sorry.
going to be kind of basis on the person. If it's someone who already bought a product, think about like a week to a month afterwards, because we have month-long products. And you can say, hey, how was your product use? What do you think of the products? Do you want to have some more? And based on what they purchased, what you can see what they purchased because you were there, you can say, hey, I saw you like this. If it worked well for you, here are these products. If they didn't buy anything, you just contacted them, I would say give them some time to get settled in. A lot of people at events are traveling. So when you get back to your house, give yourself another day, give them a day, and then say, hey, I'm so glad to meet you. I'm following up, blah, 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 on what we talked about. And you go from there. So it just depends on the person, but that's what I'd say.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And to Dylan's point, you know, a lot of people are traveling back home for the event. For those of you who have sent me messages, I'll probably give me till tomorrow to get back to you. But a lot of people are still traveling. A lot of people don't like to be just thrown up on. It's like, hey, I've already had 3 people message me and said, hey, I met you at the event yesterday. It was great to meet you. Let's set up a call. It's like, let me breathe. Let me breathe first. You know, a lot of it is also if they're just starting with the products, like to Dylan's point, I would have a 2-week. Hey, how are you liking the products? Are you finding that the dosage guidelines or the dosages that we talked about are working for you? How are you feeling? Are you getting any examples of detoxing? I'm here if you have any questions. You don't need to reach back out to me. I just wanted to check in and make sure that you were okay. And maybe they might reach back out to you and be like, yeah, I really didn't understand. Why does it say 10 and 10 drops on Clean Slate, but you told me to do 1 to 2? Like, got it. So the reason why is you want to titrate up. You want to start really slow and work your way up so that you don't detox too much. Great question. I'm glad that you asked that. Make sure you're staying super hydrated. You got to find your niche without throwing up on somebody, but also give them the space to feel comfortable to reach out to you instead of being like, I really dislike that that person messaged me and I wasn't even home yet. I haven't even started taking the products. And you also don't want to wait too long, to Dylan's point, right? You don't want to wait 2 months and then they're like, oh, I completely forgot. So I really think you have to feel the person out. Remember what your conversation was. That's why it's really good after each day at an event when you're meeting with somebody that you're taking notes. Hey, met John. He told me he had Hashimoto's. He was dealing with some gut issues. Reach out in 2 weeks. Make sure he's doing okay. Have a follow-up call about his nutrition. Help him understand why he might like the carnivore diet. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall here with like spaghetti. So that being said, there's a lot of work to do here, guys. I really appreciate everyone joining the call. I hope you find some value from this call. We will be recording these and posting these on YouTube so that you guys can send these to your communities.